Hello everyone, welcome back to MLS Moves. Please make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Before we get to the video, I'd like to thank you all for your support and remind you that we're doing a jersey giveaway when we hit 3,000 subscribers. 3,000 subscribers is our goal to reach by the end of this month, so make sure you subscribe, stay subscribed, follow me on Twitter at MLS Moves for the latest updates on the giveaway. Now, on to the video. There are a lot of players that are rumored to be coming to MLS this summer. Some huge stars who have had great careers in Europe for over a decade. Apple has been pressing MLS to make more big splash signings so that the league will garner more attention and the subscription number will also grow like it did when the league signed Lionel Messi last summer. I brought on my friend Favian Renkel of 90 Minutes to talk about the potential moves and which ones we think will happen. Favi, welcome to the show, man.
Hey,
How's it going?
oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. It's a pleasure to finally be on this amazing show. I've seen that you brought some crazy guests, so it's a truly an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I was thinking about just all the rumors of players that were potentially coming this summer, there's not another person I would rather bring on than someone like you to talk about all these players. You know, just because me and you keep like a close eye on the league, and we're always looking at like who's going to be the next person to make the jump over. And there's some big names, man. There are some big names that are potentially going to come over this summer, and we're going to break all like several of these big names down. We're going to talk about where they could possibly land, where the best fit is for them, and if we actually think they're going to come to MLS. Before we get started, make sure you guys like this video down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification so you never miss a video. Let's get it, man. Let's get it. So, okay, the first name, right? The first name I want to talk about is Angel Di Maria, Messi's teammate, longtime friend, been rumored to come to MLS for several years now. I think he's turning 36 this year. He just recently went back to Benfica after his stint with PSG. And there's been rumors about him going to Miami and joining Messi and Busquets and Alba and you know all of Messi's friends. What do you think about that signing? Would you make that signing considering he's 36 years old?
Yeah, look, 100% I make that signing. You have the best player in the world. You might as well bring in all the guys that he attracts. Um, is this signing going to happen? That's something to keep an eye on because I think Besiktas just came out saying that they were interested in Di Maria, and I can see Di Maria going to Turkey. I can definitely see him playing in Europe still, or still having an opportunity to play in some sort of Champions League football if they make it. Um, I also think that maybe Miami has a lot of maybe too many of them, right? But if they wanted to do it, they could. They would just have to move Campana, which is not hard at all. I mean, there's a lot of MLS teams out there that would love a Campana on their team, especially since he could get some international caps in Copa America. He could get some good minutes this Copa America if he doesn't go. So it's definitely a showing this summer for Campana, and I have no doubt in my mind that Miami can definitely try to offload him if they need to for Di Maria.
Do you think Di Maria would, let's say he does go to Miami, right? Or
Yeah.
comes to Miami. Is he a player that's going to take a team friendly deal like Alba, like Suarez, or is he going to demand a DP contract?
Yeah, that's something to think about too. Because if you get Di Maria on another TAM deal, which is kind of wild to think about, that would be the best scenario. You get to keep Campana. You just got to move one of your TAMs, and I think they have not too many, right? I think Sergi might be a TAM for them. I have to double check, but um, you can definitely move one of those guys, no problem. And you can even pay a team a little bit of GAM or some draft picks to get rid of one of your TAM players. But yeah, if it's a TAM player, my God, Miami's going to look pretty deep.
If it's a TAM player, man, let's be honest. Every other MLS fan base is going to freak out and call for an investigation to see what's going on, see what kind of book cooking Inter Miami is doing, Chris Henderson and them. But yeah, I mean, I know that Miami is possibly looking to offload Campana just because he's not been consistent, and he's making like close to $1 million a year with Miami, which in my MLS that's a lot of money with the
Yeah.
limited resources you have. So I wouldn't be surprised. I would actually lean in the column of that's going to happen, where he was most likely to get moved, and then like a player like Robert Taylor, just because he is very cheap, good player that another team in MLS could use, and then maybe like a Kristoff being moved. So they're going to have some funds to work with this summer to add some pieces. And by the way, everybody, I'm not going to link every single player on this list into Miami. I mean, I know that that's what most people think is going to happen, but I believe there will be other teams interested in some of these players, and I think some of these players will go to other clubs if they end up coming to MLS this summer. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think Di Maria. I mean, there was rumors he was wanting to go back to his childhood club, Rosario. I think that's not going to happen, and that's kind of like why there's a chance he might stay another year at Benfica. He might leave
Yeah,
and go. He might come to Miami.
he got threatened. So the news around Argentina was that he received some sort of threat to him and his family. So he said maybe it's not the best if I go back to Argentina and play. The one thing that brings up Di Maria's name to Miami again is that the same agency that kind of helped Giroud, Lloris, kind of, and actually the same agency for Boanga, they helped all those guys get to LAFC. And I recently saw them viewing the Inter Miami kind of training grounds. So either there's definitely a link. I mean, this is not smoke. There's something where this agency, they have taken care of Di Maria's kind of PSG transfer in the past. So they actually have a good relationship with Di Maria. So this is something where personally, I think this is a true link. And I'm not sure if they're using Miami as a bargaining chip for another team like a Besiktas, but I would say Di Maria is a true 50-50 when it comes to playing for Miami. But yes, it's definitely a true link. And Messi being there with all the buddies always helps.
If he doesn't come to Miami, is there any other club in MLS you could see Di Maria possibly going to?
No, I think it's Miami or bust, to be honest. I think the
I
appeal of
agree.
playing with Miami and Messi and Suarez is something that no player would want to kind of pass up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think at this point, Di Maria is very picky, choosy about his next stop. So yeah, I agree. I think it's Miami or bust. If not, he'll go somewhere else. Um, Another name I want to talk about that's been closely linked with MLS is Marco Royce. He's
Yeah.
obviously announced he's leaving Dortmund. I think they're announced, or they recently did a send off, or they're going to with Dortmund. And there's been some reports by some MLS journalists saying that St. Louis City has been talking to him recently. What would you think about that signing? I think Royce is 34, 35, one of the two. He's a little older, still a decent player. How would you rank that signing?
Yeah, I mean, you got to bring in Royce, right? I mean, he's about to play in a Champions League final, right? So this is, in my opinion, this is like a Luka Modric. I mean, yeah, he's an older player, but if you have a chance of signing a legendary player, you're gonna take it no matter what. I mean, look at organizations like the Rapids or the Earthquakes, right? They dream about making Marco Royce signing, right? So if you're St. Louis, you have Roman Berkey already on your team. You have a European kind of feel on that roster with Lovin as well. So it's just like, you might as well get one of the best German players to ever kind of play. And if he wins a Champions League final and then he comes in to play MLS, it's like, man, this guy's hot and he's playing well. Might as well bring him in.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, too, like you just mentioned, Berkey, both players had a stint together at Dortmund. There's obviously a relationship there. St. Louis City definitely likes to target the Bundesliga for certain players. They scout it pretty hard. I think that would be a really good signing, and I think it's important too. Which a lot of people think that this isn't the case. That it's only big market teams getting good players. But I believe signings like that for small market teams is crucial for the league to have people interested in a St. Louis City with a Marco Royce or, player A going to City B. It's nice to see small market teams trying to chase these type of players. And, I hope St. Louis City gets Marco Royce. I think that based on the reporting that's probably the only club really in contention for him. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get that done. I mean, that's most likely going to be a DP, right? I mean, I doubt he's coming here on a TAM deal.
Yeah, that one is it's kind of a blueprint though if you're not a big market team, right? Like if you are, let's say, a quote unquote smart market team where St. Louis isn't really smart market, but it's not the flashiness of LA or Miami or New York. Um, Go get a goalkeeper or go get a defender and then have him, kind of draw some other talented offensive players to your side. And if they're good friends, of course they want to play with friends. Everybody sees how much fun Messi's having with Suarez and Busquets and Alba. Everybody wants that. I mean, especially since the Saudi stuff, everything kind of went down where players, didn't want to play out their contracts. Even coaches don't even want to play out their contracts. It's something where Saudi's just getting this bad rap where, you know, 6 months ago it was like, shoot, MLS is going to lose all these guys now, but all these guys are in play now because Saudi just went downhill. But
Mhm.
it's something interesting to kind of keep in mind because if you're Colorado Rapids or if you're San Jose or if you're shoot even RSL, you go get a defender and then hopefully one day you probably get an offensive player because they're friends. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get that. I think that that is definitely, on the list of players we're going to talk about tonight. That one I would put in the higher end of likelihood happening. Right, that
Yeah.
looks like it's probably going to happen at some point this summer. Now the next player. Now this one gets people up in arms. There's going to be a couple of these guys. This player has said that he wants to come to MLS. He specifically said a couple years back he wants to play for the LA Galaxy. That was the team he wants to play for, and that's Kevin De Bruyne. Now, I think he's out of contract next summer. Um, I think I think Man City would likely maybe let him out a year early if he really wanted to go somewhere specific. I think that they have a respect him and Pep that they would allow that if he found a destination he want to go to. And recently he was linked to San Diego FC. Now, I think Kevin De Bruyne is definitely coming to Major League Soccer sooner than later. Now, I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be San Diego FC. I think that that one is a little far fetched, but who knows? I mean, the owner of San Diego FC has got some deep pockets. He has shown that he's ready to spend, and he is committed to making them a contender right out of the gate.
Yeah, look, this one's a weird one for me. I think to me, De Bruyne doesn't leave for another 4 years. I mean, this guy can play at a top level. He can play for a lower side, like a Southampton or who knows, like a Brentford. He can still play. I mean, so this one's weird to me because I don't see him going from a Man City to an MLS side. Unfortunately, I mean, sorry to break all the hearts to all the MLS fans, but this is something where it's like unless he wants to for his family, if he has small children where they want to live in a place that they can live for many years and kind of settle their roots here in the United States, then yes. But I just don't see a player that is still at the peak of soccer coming over to MLS. But then again, right? Messi came over here, right? And maybe not the peak of his soccer, but still good enough to be the best in the world and win a Ballon d'Or and a World Cup. So it's just something to keep in mind. But out of all these players, I think this one's the least likely, in my opinion. Um, I don't know. I just don't see De Bruyne playing for the Galaxy next year, which would be insane. It would be like one of the wildest transfers in MLS history. I mean, there's plenty of them, but this one would be like pretty puzzling unless a player really wanted to play. Hopefully, he knows that some teams don't have like a true practice field. Like it's just mind-boggling to me that a player of his quality and his caliber wants to come and play in MLS and chose already to play for the Galaxy. But yeah, I just would say this one's the least likely for me.
I would say that it's not likely he'll go to San Diego. I don't think that would. I mean, I applaud them for trying to go for someone like him. You swing for that, and you're probably going to land someone big. We just don't know who. Obviously, they've been rumored that they're going to sign Chucky Lozano. He didn't make the list. He didn't qualify for the big names we're talking about tonight, right?
Well,
Sorry.
Cesar Hernandez for ESPN, shout out to him. But he recently had an interview with Chucky, and Chucky said he'd rather choose Liga MX over MLS. So I know for a fact that Liga MX teams are gonna offer something for Chucky Lozano. I mean, that dude gets more clicks or just as many as Carlos Vela. So any Liga MX team that has the opportunity to land Chucky Lozano, they're gonna take it. So I don't see Chucky Lozano ever coming to MLS because Liga MX is going to be all over that player for him to come back to their team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I know that they I can't remember who had reported it, but someone had reported that they were definitely in advanced discussions, but nothing is official until the papers are signed. So that's still to be determined. But back to De Bruyne, I just don't think that he would come to San Diego. I think if he comes to Major League Soccer at 33 years old, Favi, he is picking where he wants to go. And I don't think he's picking San Diego. No offense to San Diego FC fans or the ownership group. I think they're trying to build something special. But I think De Bruyne is going to a New York City or New York City FC, the Red Bulls. He's going to an LA team. I just don't see him coming over here to go to San Diego. And I wouldn't say that it's crazy, man. I would not say that. I honestly don't see him playing in Europe for 4 more years. I think he'll come sooner than later because when you have accomplished so much like he has. He's won the Champions League. He's won his league like probably 6 or 7 times since he's been at Man City. There's really not much left for him to do. And if going to Southampton, I mean, would you rather go to Southampton and kind of just be forgotten, or come over to MLS and be one of the faces of the league? Because I've seen firsthand that De Bruyne has some major pull. There are a lot of people that like to follow him. Like you talked about Lozano being the clicks. De Bruyne is right up there, man. I mean, I see it with the engagement. People go crazy for De Bruyne. He has a pretty large following.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably one of the best Prem players to ever play, right? So it's something where there's a lot of Prem fans on the East Coast, I would say. West Coast, there's some too, but the East Coast is kind of like king for that, right? Maybe we see him stay with the City Group, right? I mean, shoot, NYCFC, get your stadium done so you can go ahead and get De Bruyne to kind of show off that brand new stadium. But yeah, shocking. I don't know too much about him as a person, because I think that's going to make a big decision about what city you choose, right? Do you want the flashiness of New York? Do you want the hot weather, right? Probably played in cold weather his whole life, so I would say New York is something that he's probably used to. You know what I could do, which I've never even thought about till this moment, is I could hop on the DC United press conferences and ask Benteke, hey, because I did the same with Origi, and I was like, hey, has De Bruyne ever reached out about MLS? And Benteke actually gives some pretty good answers, so that's something that can happen in the next couple of months for sure.
Yeah, you also need to ask him about his striking partner Lukaku, because Lukaku's talked positively about MLS in the past as well. I think it's still a little too soon for him because he's just 30. He's almost 31 years old, so I still think he's got a couple years left to give in Europe. Now, another player that San Diego is targeting or talked about, and we're going to talk about San Diego a lot because they're an expansion team. They got a clean slate. They're going to obviously be able to add more players than the average MLS team. I mean, they literally have no play, or maybe they have a couple players right now, but they're pretty much starting from scratch. Another player that they've been rumored with, Favi, is Sergio Ramos, the Real Madrid legend, right?
Yeah.
Center back legend. Now the weird thing about this is the reports are that they're going to sign him to a DP deal, and I'm just like, man, you're going to sign a 38-year-old defender to a DP deal? I mean, now I understand that the name recognition he has. I still think he's a good player. He's been playing pretty good at Sevilla this year. But man, 38 years old, a defender. Defenders are normally bad signings as DPs in general, but a 38-year-old defender as a DP, I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, this one to me is like one of the best defenders of the last generation, right? So it's if you're gonna spend this money, I would say you're probably gonna spend it on Sergio Ramos, but I don't know if San Diego is the right move for him, right? Like you're about to go to an MLS side, and historically expansion teams never do that well on their first year, no matter how much money they kind of put down. So that one's a little odd to me. Personally, I don't see Sergio Ramos kind of going to San Diego. I feel like that he would like a bigger market. I feel like he's more of an LA type of guy, but maybe they're trying to sell San Diego as you're an hour away from LA. I just think that he's gonna want to talk. He's gonna want to be in the tabloids. He's gonna want to compete against Messi. So I kind of have him, maybe going to a New York team or an Eastern Conference team, or even, who's going to be a big player this summer is Charlotte. Maybe he goes to a Charlotte, right? This reminds me a lot about a Fuchs transfer that happened for them a couple of years back. This
Yeah.
could be that same situation where they have a DP defender and they have an icon, right? But yeah, Charlotte's definitely going to be in the cards, and I think a lot of these guys are going to make decisions where they want to play against Messi or they want to be talked about. And I don't think San Diego having a clean slate, I don't think Sergio Ramos is going to be very talked about if he's the only, superstar going there. So I think if San Diego is in play, it's going to have to be two guys first and then Sergio Ramos as a third, right? So it makes more sense that way to me.
Well, and also too, San Diego, with it being an expansion team, I'm sure Sergio Ramos doesn't know much about it. Obviously, a lot of people don't know much about San Diego FC yet, just because they've not even played a match. I'm sure that a team like that, you're going to have to overpay to get someone like Sergio Ramos. He's not going to take a team friendly deal like he might if he went to an LA team or Inter Miami. So maybe that's the only way they're able to pull someone like him, is to pay a little bit more than people are willing to pay. I would say I mean, I know that the reports say that like is in advanced negotiations, but they also said that the Chucky Lozano deal was in advanced negotiations. I think that this deal is like 50-50. I personally could see it going either way, but I could see it also falling through, like you said, just because Sergio Ramos is definitely going to have his options, and it'll be interesting to see if that's his first choice.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you kind of take a look around the league, if you have a DP slot open, I think you do go for Sergio Ramos, and we have to see the numbers that kind of go out. I think you just bring him in because you need that Chiellini guy, you need the Martin Caceres guy, you need a solid defender to lead the other guys in your unit. Um, Shoot, Miami needs a defender, but they don't have the DP spot available, and I don't think they would waste it away on Sergio Ramos. So if he signs a team friendly deal, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but it would be for a team like Miami where you would have everybody. Or this is another one I thought about, the Galaxy. I mean, Martin Caceres retires and that slot is right open, and then he plays alongside Yoshida, or maybe Yoshida retires too. So they're used to having older center backs, but they're not DPs, so they're more on team friendly deals.
Yeah, and there was links with Sergio Ramos to the Galaxy last summer. Obviously, he ended up going back to Sevilla. That didn't happen. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that he does find his way to MLS this summer with some club. That is one that I would say it's an 80% chance he comes to MLS, but it's a 50% chance that it's with San Diego. And also to him having to find a club to play with to stay fit, because they're not playing until February of next year. So
Yeah.
so I think that that is also something you have to keep in mind when you're talking about Sergio Ramos. Now, the next one, Robert Lewandowski. Now, obviously, you represent your country, Uruguay, man. This is going to be kind of like a heated debate with you about which striker's the best of the last generation between him and Luis Suarez. It goes back and forth, but we could both agree that these are the two probably best strikers. It's, I guess, a preferencing of which one you think is actually better, but we both know that the two best of the last generation, right? Um, Now,
Maybe not.
yeah, hey, listen. I personally would take Luis Suarez, but there are some people that think Lewandowski
What
is. I
about
mean,
Kun Agüero? You would take Lewandowski over Kun Agüero?
yeah,
Okay, okay.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, did he scored like what 40 goals in the Bundesliga, like one of the toughest defensive leagues in the world? Hey man, hey, yeah.
When
So
you're running the table every year, it's pretty easy, right?
hey, they didn't win this year.
Yeah, yeah. When he's not there.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, he's regardless of like, all jokes aside, he's him and Suarez, they're in another tier of their own, right? They're the best, some of the best strikers we've ever seen. And Lewandowski kind of had a so-so year with Barcelona. He's 36 years old. If there was ever a time, it's this summer to come over. Xavi apparently has said that he doesn't see him in the plans for Barca going forward. I think that this is a signing that it looks like could likely happen. Like I would put this in the very likely to happen. What do you think about him coming over to MLS this summer?
Yeah, this is another one where I think it's very likely. This one to me, could be an LA, or like I was saying earlier, Charlotte. It could be something where, I've never seen Lewandowski as sort of a limelight type of guy. I mean, he's never really been too vocal about not winning the Ballon d'Or in 2020, which they kind of reported that they might even still give it to him. But I don't think he's that big of a vocal guy, or he needs the kind of limelight like that. So this could be one of the guys that doesn't maybe go to a big market and then just takes a little bit of a bigger paycheck relative to playing either in Miami or Los Angeles. So this is a player that I have, like you said, very likely to come to MLS. And who knows? Maybe we had Lewandowski in St. Louis as well.
I think the two clubs I look for him to go to if he comes to MLS, the first club is Chicago. Chicago, I think, would be a very good fit. I think they need a big name like him. They have a huge Polish community. I don't know if you know that, but I actually found that out. I was doing some research about the club, like when they're in their inaugural year, they had signed some player that was like a Polish legend, and everybody was very excited for the club when they started out. So I think that would be a really good signing, good pair. Give them a little name recognition because Chicago is the third biggest market in the country, but you kind of forget that because they just don't make any noise. They don't do enough.
But honestly, they don't make any noise in the global thing. I mean, not even just soccer. I mean, people forget Chicago's the third biggest market in the world or in the United States all the time, right? It's
Yeah.
always New York, LA, and then Miami. Even San Francisco, I feel like gets a lot more love than Chicago does. But
Houston.
yeah, Houston's another one. Atlanta. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just those are bigger cities in real life, right? So it's odd to remember that Chicago is one of the biggest cities in the United States. And you're right, they do need a big signing. I mean, they do have Shaqiri, right? They have someone. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not like they're. I hate to say it, it's not like the Earthquakes where they never signed a person after George Best, right? So, um, I hope you could hear my pain in my voice there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Shaqiri has been a pretty big disappointment, honestly. I mean, he's inconsistent. He hasn't really done a lot. I mean, it was a nice signing at first, but I feel like a lot of the fans are disappointed. They just signed Hugo Kuipers
Yeah.
to I think it was like a team record transfer fee. It was like 13 million or 12 million euros this past offseason. He hasn't been doing enough. I think that if they got someone like Lewandowski, it would kind of re-energize the team. Look what Emil Forsberg has done for the Red Bulls. I mean, he's came in. This roster is pretty much the same, minus one or two pieces. And look how much better they're playing under Sandro Schwartz this year and Emil Forsberg leading the helm.
Well, they got Lewis Morgan back too, which Lewis Morgan's playing out of his mind. And I was talking about this the other day. I was like, dude, I don't know how he doesn't play for Scotland. I mean, yeah, Scotland has a lot of prime players, but throw him on the bench, right? I mean, he has almost 10 goals already, and then we're at what 12, 11 games through the season, 12 games. So uh, Lewis Morgan's playing out of his mind too. But yeah, you're right. Kuipers was the leading scorer in the Belgian league last year, so of course his price tag is going to be pretty high. But yeah, he hasn't been pounding in those goals like we've thought he would be. But again, MLS is a little bit hard to get accustomed to. Like, look at Kike Oliveira, right? He's a sometimes a starter for Uruguay, and he wasn't banging in goals until this last couple of games. So it's something where it takes a while to get accustomed to. But yeah, Shaqiri, I feel like is kind of on the downward spiral. I don't think that's going to ever turn around. But I think Kuipers is a little too early to tell. But having maybe two strikers would be a good idea as well.
Yeah, and also too for the fan base, get them re-energized and excited. And another team, like a dark horse team, I could see being in contention for Lewandowski is the Red Bulls. I think the Red Bulls are going to make another splash signing this summer. I don't know exactly to what degree that's going to be, but I think that they're committed to trying to get this thing turned around. Obviously, their rival in New York City FC beat them to the first MLS Cup of the city, and they've been in the league almost 20 seasons. They the Red Bulls have been in the league 20 years longer than New York City FC, and for them to beat them to the first MLS Cup is kind of crazy. So I think there's a hunger by the Red Bull ownership group to really try to get this thing turned around. And you see it this year; they're competing. So I think that they're going to add another piece, and they're going to try to make a serious run for the MLS Cup this year.
Yeah, look, you're right. I mean, the Red Bulls are missing that one piece to really be a true contender, in my opinion, as well. Because you're not really putting them against the likes of Inter Miami or Columbus or even Cincinnati, because you just think they're missing that one piece, like you're saying. And shoot, Lewandowski would be the perfect fit. I'm not so sure. You might have to even pay a transfer fee on Lewandowski to come over because he's not fully out of contract. So it would be a cheap one. It'd be like a 7 million euro, but you still would have to put some sort of money out there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think that this one is, like we said, very likely. I'd give it like probably an 80% chance that that one will happen. Now, this one is now this one people say is crazy. It won't happen because he's still playing really good. Arguably was a top 3 player in the league of this season. Antoine Griezmann, I think, could be coming to MLS this summer, and the team I could see him coming to tie up all the French connections, right? Get all the buddies, get the band back together. I could see him come into LAFC this summer.
Yeah, look, that one is he knows what he's doing too. He knows that all these cryptic signs that he wants to come play in MLS, he's been doing it for the last 3 years. I mean, he was opening card packs, the top packs with the MLS one right in the front, right? Front and center. So
Several boxes too.
I know. So it's something where it's like he's close friends with Carlos Vela. I mean, he's probably already texted him about LAFC. Um, I don't know. This one's gonna hit as big as the Messi, in my opinion, to the already soccer fan. So if you already watch soccer, this signing to MLS is going to be just as big as Messi coming to MLS, in my opinion. Messi was more of the casual fan. I think Griezmann, if he comes sooner rather than later, will be bigger of a signing to the already soccer fan because this means that, wow, MLS is truly the league of choice. And yes, MLS was the league of choice for Messi, but it was more like Saudi Arabia, this and that and that. It was like this is something where Griezmann can play anywhere in the world, but he decides that he's going to want to play for LAFC. So it's that one's going to hit, like a fresh pack of gum or something, right, or whatever.
Fresh
Like,
pack of cards, man. Rip it
yeah,
up, getting that
right,
pulling that Messi card out of the tops, right? Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, uh, obviously he's an Atletico Madrid legend, right? And I think they have a good relationship, especially with the success they've had since he came back after his Barca stint. I believe if he wants to leave, they're not going to hold him back. I think that they'll gladly let him leave. They got respect. They have a good relationship. I don't think they're going to hold him hostage to some 30, $40 million transfer fee. I think that they would leave on good terms. And I just think with the relationship that they've already got Hugo Lloris, they've got Olivier Giroud, who just signed officially today, right? He's going to be an LAFC player. There's a lot of connections there. And I think that obviously Miami's building like the South America super team in with a little bit of a Spaniard seasoning in it, right? A little bit, with Alba and Busquets. But I think that LAFC is trying to do the French national team revamp with their club. So we're going to see two heavy hitters, and I think that LAFC would be willing to pay the wages to get him over here. I don't think money's an issue. I think they're willing to drop money for a player like Griezmann, and we'll see that kit, that number 7 Griezmann kit, everywhere if he signs for LAFC.
Yeah, I mean, in California, you're going to see that all the way up north too. I mean, if Griezmann signs with LAFC, all the other California teams better watch out because everybody and their mom is going to be a fan of LAC and what they're doing down there. And I gotta say this too: the only thing that really stops me from truly, truly believing that this is 100% going to be done is that his agency that he recently signed for uh, doesn't have a player that plays in MLS, or at least he doesn't have a tie to MLS in any sort of which way. For example, the Andrew Di Maria agency, the one that's the same for Giroud and the same for Lloris, they had MLS guys like Mavinga, like Bawanga, so they already had ties to MLS. Um, Something can be done, of course. Something can be found, but if Griezmann recently switched agencies, and coming over to MLS is something that his agency is not truly, truly accustomed to doing for a player like Griezmann, you would find out a way, right? But it's something that's not linking him too close to MLS right now, at least.
Yeah, and I think it was Alonso at Area Sports recently reported that Inter Miami had begun discussions or the possibility of trying to sign Griezmann at Inter Miami, or that they were at least interested. There's mutual interest between both player and club. I find that one far fetched. I don't think that's going to happen. I just think there'd be a lot of hoops they'd have to jump through. And I think at the end of the day, that the league would like to see the wealth spread out. They want there to be more than just one super team or one really good team. They want to see big names and big players spread out through other markets to get people interested and pay attention to more than just one club.
Yeah, personally, wasn't there some sort of like tension between Griezmann and Messi once they were at Barcelona together? So I don't think that this is something where Messi wants Griezmann there either. I think if you have Messi, you keep the best player of all time happy, and if he's performing, you're definitely going to need to keep him happy. But yeah, I mean, the French connection is there. I mean, Matuidi's still involved somewhat in Miami, so I can see that there is some sort of link, or maybe there was something there where Griezmann inquired or something like that. But no, I just don't see him going to Inter Miami. I think they're not going to. Messi's not going to waste his power of pulling on a guy like Griezmann that plays a very similar position to Messi too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, we talked a little bit about this, or we have off camera, just about how much interest we saw, obviously, in MLS as soon as Messi had signed, and the buzz and like just all the attention it was getting. Leagues Cup, it was just like just the culmination of it was just perfect. Stars aligning. If they're able to sign these players, Favi, and right before Leagues Cup and get them integrated when we're playing Liga MX clubs, I mean, is it possible that we see an even crazier summer than we saw last year, which seemed like that could not be topped?
Yeah, I know I'm gonna be watching Leagues Cup for LAFC, right? With Giroud coming in, so I think he's gonna be eligible for some games of Leagues Cup, if I'm not mistaken, because it's gonna be mid July or late July. So yeah, I'm gonna be watching Leagues Cup, and to be honest, this tournament is starting to look better and better if it's a way to get these guys integrated with the team. I mean, there's not so much pressure because it's a real tournament, but it's not really at the same time. It's kind of like a little preseason tournament for these guys to get accustomed to their teams, but it just makes it just as fun. I mean, yeah, of course, Messi is going to draw a crazy amount of people, but I think Griezmann would attract a whole bunch. And if you have Griezmann, Lewandowski, Royce, Di Maria, and Modric playing in League's Cup, you might get at least 75% of the people that were there for Messi.
Exactly. And I had a commenter post earlier something about, oh, yes, MLS is just signing all these old guys. It's a retirement league. People have been saying that forever. I don't care about the age of the player. I care about if they're able to contribute and what they're able to do. I mean, we watched Zlatan come here for 2 seasons, destroy MLS, and then go back to Serie A with Milan and absolutely tear it up for a couple of years. So I don't care anything about how old you are. I care about the name recognition and what you can do on the field. And all these guys that we just named, I don't think any of these guys are washed. I think they're all still good.
Yeah, and look, nowadays this is actually a pretty big topic around all sports. I think a 35-year-old is completely different today than it was 10 years ago. I think sports science is so advanced nowadays that a 35-year-old might, peak or prime is still, a little pushing it, but I don't think they miss steps like that. I mean, in terms of just sports science across all sports, I mean, Mike Tyson's about to fight at 50, right? So
Yeah.
it's something to keep in mind where, technology and science has come so far where, you can get extra years. Look at LeBron. I mean, LeBron's almost 40 years old playing, and maybe not the best, but he's still playing
Productive.
at a very productive level for a 38-year-old. Look at Vince Carter, right? Another guy who played till he's late 30s, right? So it's
Tom
just,
Brady.
yeah, Tom Brady, another one. So there are ways of protecting your body and protecting your ligaments and your bones and everything so that you could still kind of play till your late 30s. So shoot, give me all the retirement league guys, because at this point, when you thought Saudi was going to steal them all, shoot, I was kind of feeling some type of way when they were all choosing Saudi. So if it's better to have them than to not have them. That's the truth. I need these guys in the league. These guys help set a precedent to the younger guys as well. Like, look at Chiellini. Chiellini played for LAFC for 2 years and decided to stay. He's decided to stay working for that club, and his presence is definitely still felt in that back line. Aaron Long learned a lot from him. Rio should have learned a lot from him. But again, these guys, they learn from these legends, and it's more worth it than just their on-field production. Take a look at the Galaxy, Yoshida and Cáceres. I mean, those outside backs are learning a lot from those guys.
Jalen Neal.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's all a process. You want those guys in so that you can then have the young guys kind of learn in their footsteps.
Yeah, and that's another thing too with this new rules like U22. It kind of gives a little bit more leeway for clubs to sign an older DP because they still have resources to sign younger players they can learn. I think it's always good to have a mixture of experience with some potential, like some younger players who just need to learn and play and shadow these legends. So I'm cool with it, man. Like I said, as long as the players still have something to contribute, like Kevin De Bruyne, we talked about earlier, and Griezmann, we know that there's clubs in Europe that would still want them. Just like we knew that Messi, when he came over here, he probably could have picked any club in the world he wanted to play for, even at 36 years old.
Right, right. No, I totally agree. Shoot, sign Giovinco. I see him playing TST. Nah, he can help the Earthquakes. Get him out there and
I
block
don't
the
know,
ball.
man. I don't know about Jovinko, man. I don't know. I think his time's passed. Honestly, even though respect to Jovinko, he was crazy in his day. He was crazy in his day with Toronto FC. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting summer, man. I cannot wait. and see which of these signings happen. I think that more than half of them will end up happening, honestly, and it's going to make the league more exciting to watch and more fun to cover. And I can't wait, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. And just kind of going over the names that we didn't touch upon, but like Varane is one where I'm like, shoot, he just announced today that he's not gonna stay at Man U. Casemiro's another one. Guys that possibly can make their way to MLS, but I think maybe those guys are a little more Saudi. And another one
Yeah,
that brings up a name is Martial. I mean, that's a player that may be looking to reinvent himself. And that's a player where in FIFA you would play as his character and you would come over to the Galaxy, right? So
yeah.
maybe that's the prophecy. Maybe that's what his life was supposed to be. And we get to see that play out.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. It's gonna be an exciting summer. That's how it is in this league. When you have a league this young, every previous year should be passed up by the next year. So this should be the best year of MLS's short tenure, or life. And I can't wait to see all the signings the league makes. Before I let you go, Favi, where can people follow you at?
You can find me at Favian Renkel. I mean, you can just search it up on Twitter or on Instagram. I am Favian Renkel. And yeah, thank you for bringing me on. It was a true pleasure. You can invite me on anytime. I would love to talk transfers any day with you, man.
I love it, man. I love it. Also, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Guys, if you like the content, subscribe so you don't miss any more. I appreciate all the support you guys show me. It's been an honor. It's been fun, and it's just great making content that you all enjoy. So I really appreciate that. And until next time, I will see you all soon.